A very warm welcome to our participants. Thank you for joining our virtual public consultation on the LPG tank regulators, specifically our draft standard DNS EN 16129. Pressure regulators, automatic changeover devices having a maximum regulated pressure of 4 bar with a maximum capacity of 150 kilograms per hour. Associated safety devices and adapters for butane, propane, and their mixtures. This is a proposed identical adoption of the European standard EN 16129. I am Zamala Haynes Joseph, the head of the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards Development Department, and I am so happy that you took time out to get some direct feedback from us on this standard. Today's session, we will receive the background and importance of this proposed standard, as well as present some key elements of the draft standard. And we will receive feedback from our participants as well as comments. We will be presenting how to access our online standards platform so that persons can give an indication whether they support this identical adoption of the standard. So with that, I would like to invite Ms. Saskia Augustine to give us the background and importance for this specific standard on LPG pressure regulators. Ms. Saskia.
Thank you, Samala. Morning, everyone. My name is Saskia Augustine, and I am a standards officer at the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards. So like Samala indicated, I will just take you very briefly through the background and importance of this standard. Okay, so this national standard, that's the DNS EN 1629. This is an identical adoption of the EN 16129 2013. So that's pressure regulators, automatic changeover devices having a maximum regulated pressure of 4 bar with a maximum capacity of 150 kilograms per hour, associated safety devices and adapters for butane, propane, and their mixtures. Okay, so the low pressure regulators used in St. Lucia, although they are designed to European standards, there are some pressure regulators which are not in compliance with those European standards, and they may create some fires and explosion hazards for households. So this standard therefore would seek to eliminate or reduce the risk of the risk associated with some non-compliant LPG regulators. So this would be applicable to anyone who uses, owns, fills, repairs these gas cylinders, particularly individuals who own or manage small businesses. And regulators and other government agencies may also find significant value in the use of this standard for safety and compliance purposes. So as promised, this was very brief, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saskia. I know it was brief, but it was quite impactful. Understanding the significance of such a standard for us here in St. Lucia, as LPGs can be found in practically every household. And one of the key things that we hope to do is look at a holistic framework. So you did not mention it, but it's important to indicate to our participants that there are standards already existing for the LPG containers itself, the cylinders, and there are also standards that speak to the marking and labeling. There are standards that speak to the storage and handling by the retailers. So we've tried to cover different aspects of this sector. And what we are hoping to do with this proposed standard for regulators is just take on one part, because as it stands, this is such an important in terms of the danger that it poses. And we see challenges by consumers and even by retailers in getting, sourcing, and making available safe regulators for use by the consumer. So this is just going to be one part of what we're doing. At this point, I hope Mr. David Hood is there. And Mr. David Hood will is on the technical committee, and he will give us more details in terms of what the standard covers. And as I indicated, please access the standard while we're going along, because our presentations are just the bare bones, and you'll get more details in the standard. So if you have any questions, you can provide these questions as we go along. So Mr. David Hood, if you would please go ahead, and he's going to give us an overview on the details of the DNS-EN 16129 for pressure regulators, automatic changeover devices having a maximum regulated pressure of 4 bar with a maximum capacity of 150 kilograms per hour, associated safety devices and adapters for butane, propane, and the mixtures. This long title simply comes down to the LPG regulators. Thank you. Mr. Hood?
Good morning to everyone, especially to you, Mr. Mala and Ms. Saska. Mr. David Hood, part of many other organizations as well as committee. I'm the chairman of the mechanical, and at this present time, I'm presenting, as you've heard from Mr. Mala, the element of DNS-EN 16129. 1, the scope. 2, normative reference. Sorry about that. You've got number 3, terms and definitions, types of regulating device, constructional characteristic, performance characteristic, test methods, marking, packaging, instructions. Annexes of DNS-EN 16129. The Annex A, normative special requirements for the device fitted with pressure or flow rate operated safety functions. Annex B, normative special requirements for device fitted with thermal shut-off system. Annex C, normative special requirements for device under extreme temperature condition, temperatures below -20 degrees Celsius. Annex D, normative regulating devices for gas cylinders to supply appliances installed in caravans, motor caravans, or freshwater boats. Annex E, normative complementary test requirements for non-metallic thermoplastic or thermal setting materials used in the construction of device. Annex F, normative requirements for elastomeric reinforced diaphragms. Can you set it up? Annex G, normative inlet connections. Annex H, normative outlet connections. Annex I, informative test method for resistance to corrosion. Annex J, informative method for measuring leaks. Annex K, normative special requirements for low pressure fixed regulators fitted with 2 or 3 outlets for outdoor use. Annex L, normative special requirements for regulators fitted with an inlet valve. Annex M, normative devices for gas cylinders to supply appliances installed in seawater boats. Annex N, normative alternative possible seal. Annex ZA, informative relationship between this European standard and the essential requirements of EU Directive 2009-142 EC for pressure regulators only. Okay, so then we have the DNSEN 16129 pressure regulators. Okay, you've got the scope. The European standard defines the constructional and operational characteristic, the safety requirements, test methods, and making of regulators and automatic changeover devices having a maximum regulated pressure of 4 bars with a maximum capacity of 150 kilogram for use with butane, propane, and mixtures in the vapor phase. This European standard also applies to the safety device, which are included within regulating device covered by this standard. The characteristics of this safety device are given in Annex A and B. This European standard also includes the requirements for adapters for connecting to self-closing valves, auxiliary safety device. For the purpose of this European standard, regulators and automatic changeover devices are referred to as regulating devices. Regulators, automatic changeover devices, and adapters are referred to as devices. The requirements apply to devices used in location where the temperature likely to be reached during use in between -20% Celsius and +50 degrees Celsius. Additional requirements for the device to be used at temperature below -20 degrees Celsius are given in Annex C. Additional requirements for regulating device intended to be used in caravans, motor caravans, and freshwater boats are given in Annex D. Additional requirements for regulating devices intended to be used in seawater boats are given in Annex M. For specific use in caravan, motor, caravan and boats, fresh water and seawater, quote unquote, the automatic changeover device function may also be carried out by an assembly of regulators, forming an automatic changeover device system as defined in 3.1.9. For installation rules of device and their possible associated safety devices, reference should be made to national regulations enforced in the member countries. All connections and the countries in which they are in use are given in Annex G and H. This European standard defines only specific connections which are not defined in other standard, example EN 15202 for cylinder valve connection, that's in the European countries. 3, terms and definitions. You've got regulators, variable regulating device, automatic changeover device, integral two-stage automatic changeover device, regulating device, adapter, fixed regulating device, adjustable regulating device, automatic changeover device system, kit, quick coupling, manual closing device, self-closing valve, valve pad, and auxiliary safety device. Types of regulating devices. Introduction, regulating devices with a normal regulated pressure specified by European 437 or regulating devices. 5, constructional characteristic. general materials, special requirements, changeover devices, mechanical strength, soundness, mechanical endurance, resistance to humidity changes, resistance to corrosion. 6, performance characteristic, general regulators, automatic changeover device, and adapters. 7, test methods, general conditions, verification of constructional characteristics, verification of performance characteristics. 8, marking, packaging, instructions, general, marking of the device, packaging, instructions for the installation, use, and maintenance. Any question, comments, and feedback? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. I am trying to see if we have any hands raised. I'm not seeing any hands raised. Do we have any questions coming in the chat box? Again, participants, you may type in your questions to questions and comments. Additionally, you may raise your hand if you would like to speak, and you will be given the opportunity to speak. I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time. Do we have any comments coming in? Okay, so Mr. Hood, while we wait for questions to come in, again, participants, please just go ahead and send in 2 questions and comments. If I may pick your brain a little to help us, give some more context. During the deliberations of the technical committee, is there any specific reason that you and your committee members would have agreed to use the standard for the European standard? Any specific reason why that would have been the choice?
The need for this standard has arisen from the increased usage of 9 kilogram, which is 20-pound LPG cylinders with closing liquefied petroleum gas cylinders valve. They are connected to the heating appliances, stove, ovens, as we use in our common day, through the usage of these low pressure, non-adjustable regulators. The main issue is the health and safety. And we all know when it comes to health and safety, that's my #1 priority. Okay. All right. And with those health and safety precautions, by adhering to the minimum specification for the low pressure gas regulators within the Lucia or Lucian market, distributors could then import these regulators of LPG gas tanks at affordable prices, because we know everything right now is economics, to consumers, which meets the minimum standard. It is proposed that a standard detailing the minimum requirement for low pressure regulators of gas tanks be developed by the St. Lucia Bureau of Standard. Principal requirements to be includes performance, operation, and maintenance, health and safety, environment factors. So those are the sorts of things we discussed at the technical stage with my committee and board, and with also the input from you, Ms. Haynes. I don't know as to why you had to ask me that question, because you know all about it yourself, because we report to you. But I will say we've got a strong team right now that's we put our back into it. We, as I said, when it comes to safety, is our #1 priority. And at the same time with safety, we want to make sure that the market in St. Lucia has the right product, which is the regulator at hand right now. Does this answer your question, Mrs. Haynes? Sorry, Mistress Charles or Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. But I'm asking the questions because we have no questions coming in the chat. So just to assist persons who are there, to get a little context and help them, I suppose, nudge them. So if there's any question that they want to ask, they can get the gusto to ask those questions. Okay, Mr. Hood?
Can I ask them a question then?
Well, you can ask a question. I'm not sure if you will get an answer, but please go ahead.
No, my concern also, like I said, safety is my #1 priority. And it's a concern that we've taken up on at the Tower Technical Committee. We are also in the process. We've also put our heads together and we decide what we're about to do about it. Is the cylinders that where they are placed at homes in the domestic, especially domestic areas, because at the commercial, they are well encaged. So in case of danger and this thing were to explode, it will remain in that area and create less damage to consumers or to the public. Whereas at homes and small areas, I realize in St. Lucia that the chains and those things are not being put on a lot of those cylinders. And some of them are not even enclosed in a cupboard of its own. And that itself have posed danger. And momentarily, it's just a matter of something waiting to happen. We have put out quite a lot of the other notices on those things. I know that for a fact. But it's down to the suppliers, because they are the one who tends to drop those things to other little agent to enforce the law also, because they are the consumer. If the consumer are not adhering with the safety protocol and something were to happen, it would be down to them. So it would be wise that the suppliers actually speak to the consumer. We can't force it, because remember, I always keep telling people, the Bureau of Standards are there for standards. We are not a body to enforce law and order. The police are the ones who does those things. We are merely here for the safety of the people and to ensure that everything complies with the standard when it comes to those sorts of things. Okay. So all I'm saying again is to the messages can be passed on from the supplier to the agent and from the agent to consumers, which are the consumers are the one who comes in and out. They don't come to the Bureau of Standard. So while this is out there, the little petrol station, the areas where they drop those tanks, just let the merchant or whatever you want to call them, give them a little pep talk from time to time and just ensure that, you know, they are aware of some of the dangers and to avoid it. Thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Hood. We have one question that has come in, and I'm going to read it out. The question is whether the SLBS has any means in place to mitigate the importation and use of regulators that are not up to standard. And that is coming from Shakil. Thank you very much, Shakil, for your question. Mr. Hood, if I may just give a quick response to that, and I will allow you also if there's anything else you want to add, to indicate that when a standard is made or declared compulsory through our standards regulations, we do in fact do import monitoring. At this time, we're just proposing this, so there is no monitoring of regulators. And that's one of the things I don't know if there's anybody on the call from the regulatory arm that might want to also chime in. But one of the things that the regulatory department would do is use that standard when it is declared compulsory by law in their compulsory standards compliance program, where they do import monitoring and market surveillance as well to ensure that the products under that program conform to the necessary standards. So once, of course, we have sufficient support nationally, it becomes a national standard, then that the regulatory department would present to the minister a regulatory impact assessment that reviews the safety risk, the risk of maintaining the status quo, the impact on businesses, retailers, and importers of the actual regulator, that all of these things will be presented, sort of like a case study, looking at this one commodity and making a sort of justification or case for why it should become mandatory. And Mr. Hood earlier would have spoken up to the safety issues that persist. And one of the reasons why this standard, and for now, it's being recommended for voluntary starters, but definitely there is possibility for it to become a mandatory standard for further type of scrutiny of that standard. Mr. Hood, I do not know if there's anything else you want to add to that. I am also not seeing any hands raised. Do we have any other questions coming in?
Okay. What I'm just going to add, I'm just going to add something as quick as possible. What it is, this is something I tend to do. If I know I'm ordering certain things, especially on the user's end, but the suppliers, because you're the one who are going out to supply. There is an institution called the Bureau of Standard, St. Lucia Bureau of Standard. If you're not too sure as to when you're ordering or what you're ordering, because it's your money you're putting up front, there is nothing wrong in calling the or sending an email across to find out, hey, is there a standard for, or is there an amendment to the regulators that we are bringing in? Just so in other words, that the main supplier, which I'm getting those regulators from, can actually comply. Do not wait for when the regulators arrived in St. Lucia and then, because this is what a lot of people tend to do. They tend to blame Bureau of Standard for everything. Everything they tend to blame. But do they come to the Bureau of Standard before they order? No. Do they come to Bureau of Standard? As much as the Bureau of Standard will go out there and advocate and do a bit of educational program to educate the public, it is down to you, the supplier, you, the agent, you, the user. I'll go as far as down to the user to inquire about those things, because anything I buy, I tend to inquire about it before I purchase it, because it's my hard-earned money that goes into it. This is all I need to say right now.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. I have one more question, and this question is from Mr. Flood. He's asking, are there any LPG regulators in the market currently which meet the proposed standard? I know the answer to that is yes, Mr. Hood. Do you want to add anything else to that?
No, I mean, you've already, that's just exactly what I would have.
Yes,
you know as much as I know, so.
and I think, too, that would have been what guided the committee in making the choice. They would have looked at what products are already on the market and sort of given consideration to their ability to meet the proposed standards. So I have another question coming in. So now the questions are coming in. So this one is from Janelle Volney, and she's asking, will adoption of the standard allow the SLBS to begin inspection on the residential level to ensure adherence, or will this only be for commercial suppliers? Mr. Hood, you want to?
Again, I'll point it out again, because it's not that the Bureau of Standard would not want to do inspection, but our powers don't take us that far at the homes, put it this way.
Yes.
And this all I will say to the individual is to if you want to find out anything in reference to your safety, if you want to find out anything to the regulator, if you want to find out anything as to when it's pertaining to the regulators and the use of it, like we went through with the presentation, you simply can always send an email to the Bureau of Standard, and we shall basically help you along the way. But as to regulating coming to the houses, if we have to do this for every product, I don't think the Bureau of Standard will have staff to go out and do those things. But I understand your concern. It is a very serious question you've asked. I will still speak to my technical committee as chairman. I'll still speak to them and see exactly as to what other body that we have or institution that we have around that can actually help to do. Just like we have the electrical inspection department, they go out to homes and they carry out those sort of inspection. I'll bring it up in one of the meetings.
So
Thank you,
what I can add, Mr. Hood, is if you've already purchased a product, the Consumer Affairs Department is the agency that would assist you if you have any grievance. So if you, of course, want for your own thing, you can, of course, contact the SLBS, as Mr. Hood said, because we offer a service of complaints handling. So if you have a complaint against a product, especially dealing with safety, where a standard exists, we will provide support, but it's only where a standard exists. And Mr. Hood is quite right. Our Standards Act, the law that guides us, give us the authority over trade. And that is where, as long as the good is being sold to the public, that is where we can step in. But we do offer complaint handling on a one-on-one basis to consumers where standards exist. But outside of all of that, Consumer Affairs Department is the agency responsible for handling consumer investigations. And the last thing I want to add on that is, if the product complies with a relevant standard, especially in the case of the regulators, you would see that on the package, you would see that sometimes embossed in the product itself, on the lid, on the top somewhere, you would see the standard number EN 16129. And that is what says it is compliant with the standard. So that is something that you can check, you can look at. If you're about to purchase it, you can see it on the package label itself, or sometimes embossed on the product itself. And that is a quick way to know whether or not the product complies. So, Mr. Hood, let me thank you for the provision of the presentation, as well as giving us the little feedback on the questions and answers. Before I let people go, I want to be able to tell them how they can provide feedback and comments, how they can let us know their views, whether they think this proposed standard should become a national standard.
Welcome to a brief tutorial on how to use the comments platform for our draft national standards that are out for comments. We start by opening a browser window, could be Torch, Chrome, whichever one is your favorite, and going to the URL www.slbs.org. Alternatively, if you got our emails, you should be able to either click on one of the links to access the portal, or you could also scan the QR code that is provided. It will also take you to the portal. Once you are on our homepage, scroll down to Standards for Public Comment. Click on that. This will take you to the Standards for Public Comment page. Here there is a list of the standards that are out for public comments. You click on one of the standards, the one that interests you, that you would like to comment on. If you've never used our portal before, you will need to register. For those who have used our portals, they could simply log in. However, if you've never used it before, you should register. The registration process is quick and easy. You put in your username, your first name, last name, your email address, and you choose a password. The password should have at least 6 characters and a number. Next, you choose your stakeholder category, whether you are industry, government, or consumer, labor, trade associations, non-governmental agency, regulatory authority, academia and research, or other. I will choose consumer. Now, if you are a member of a technical committee with the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards, you can select the committee you are a part of. If not, you could just select no. For this question, are you a member in Slbs TC? Then you select I'm not a robot, and you can go ahead and register. Now you are in the draft standard that you selected. Here you would see a button which says read draft document and 2 text boxes, comment, and in the bracket justification for change, and below it the proposed text of change. Below you would have your clause number, your subclause number, or your annex depending on what you're commenting on, your paragraph, your figure, your table, and the type of comment you are making, whether it is general comment. If it is a technical comment, then you select technical comment, or if it's editorial, then you'd select editorial. So to start perusing and commenting on the standard, you first click read draft document. This opens up the standard in a sub window. Now, for ease of use, you are able to read the standard and type your thoughts down. To achieve this, you click on the top of the window, the standard window. At this point, you drag this to the side of the screen and it should snap. Then you take the browser window, drag that to the other side of the screen, and it snaps. This way you are able to read the standard and still have access to the comment window where you would be writing your thoughts down. So now your first comment could be this. And your proposed text of change. Then you choose your clause number. Let's use number 4, harvesting. Then you choose your paragraph. Let's just say the second paragraph. And then the type of comment. So we will say an editorial comment. And then you add your comments. Now your comment will be recorded. You can see it here. And now you can continue perusing the document and adding additional comments. Once you are done, you can log off, or you could just close your browser window. To log off, you can just log out here, or just close your browser window. And that is how you use our comments platform to peruse and comment on our draft national standards. We are looking forward to hearing from you. If this video was helpful, or you have recommendations or suggestions or you just have any other inquiries, feel free to drop us a line at info@slbs.org.
Mr. Hood, you wanted to
Yeah, just to add
say
with what
something?
you were saying earlier on. It is important that everyone in this chat room right now, they are aware that, and I think I believe it's in a lot of St. Lucian's blood. The more complaint, if you do have, and you were to feel, the better it would be for we at the technical committee to deal with also, because when it goes to complaint will then now send it down to the technical committee to see how we can address it. But it seems like St. Lucian's on a whole, when it comes to filling paper or writing or filling a form, they refuse to do those sorts of things. It's like they will notice that there is a problem with a product. They will go into a store. They will see it, they know of it. A simple thing of accessing the website or complain and let them know. But the moment complain say, well, you've got to fill a document, it stops right there. In order for us to move forward in this country and to live in a better world, a safer world, we need to address those things. And the only way those things can be addressed is by individual filling this complaint and making it known to the people it have to be forwarded to. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hood. Well said. I have one last question, and I'm going to invite Saskia to provide a response to that. What is the deadline for comment?
I need to double check the deadline, but it is this December in the next week.
Mid-December.
Mid-December. Already the 12th. I just need to double check the dates.
And one of the things we can do also is extend that deadline. I think based on some of the feedback that we're getting, we can definitely give an extension to at least the end of December to allow persons to provide feedback. It really is about safety. It really is about ensuring that our consumers are safe. And a product like that, where you have such a high risk and danger, Mr. Hood, I think you have really given a viewpoint on your concerns on the danger that persists. And I am sure that those retailers on board, Mr. Flood, thanks for letting us know that you are there, and the other retailers on board would have heard. We have come to the end of our time with you, our consultative process. We ask you to please go to the website, or you can call us, you can contact us via email as well. We do take traditional comments. It is not only on you could send it on our Facebook even. Anyway you send comments, we accept it and we refer it to the technical committee for feedback. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Hood. Thank you, Saskia. Thank you, most importantly, to our participants, the members of the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards, our team here from Standards Development. Thank you for your participation and support in this consultation. We look forward to getting a lot of these comments written. I like the end plug Mr. Hood put in there. If you do not give us the comments, we will not know. If you do not take time to express it in writing, you will not see the change that you would like to see in the sector, especially one where it is so concerning for safety. So thank you, everybody.